Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Have you ever realized that you have all these ideas, you have this direction, you have these goals you want to go in, and maybe you even start, and then you just run out of energy or you run out of inspiration or the power to keep it going? We're going to tap into your limitless energy today and show you how you can keep it moving forward. And of course, it does start with your mind. And she is somebody that has come up with an amazing mental training course. She's also, she does so much. I don't know where she gets her energy from. Yoga, The Power of Self-Belief is her book. And she's Caren Paskel. She's back with us. Hey, Caren, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Feel energized today, even though it's a very gloomy day here.
Same exact thing here.
New York and Michigan, similar weather. Yep.
Similar weather. Yeah. All right. Digress. What's your temp right now? What do you think?
Oh, I think we're like 39, 40.
Oh, all right. We're 99, 46. Like it's a big difference. But you know what? Doesn't matter, because whether it's 2 degrees outside or if it's 92 degrees, you have to find that energy to attain your goals, to keep moving forward. It's in us. How do we tap it to keep that happening?
Well, I'm so excited to talk on this subject because I first want to share this with you. I realize that not everybody knows the place I've come from, right? And so if you see somebody like so energized, you're like, oh, well, it's like you either think it's fake, it's not real, or maybe they're just, I don't know, they have had a lot of caffeine. It's hard to listen when you don't know what the difference was for me. And it's a huge difference. My energy is, I feel like I'm a kid. I'm going to be turning 45. I can't remember having this kind of energy. And to be honest, I don't drink caffeine. I used to, but for health reasons, I don't anymore. I can't believe this. It's almost unbelievable, but this word unbelievable, right? Belief is in there, and that's part of it. But truly, really, I had chronic fatigue most of my life. It was hard to get out of bed and put my feet on the ground. I mean, sometimes I would go in to take yoga, I would go into child's pose, and I would not move for the entire class. I felt like a dead weight, and I wasn't heavier than I am now. My body was inflamed. Just the lack of energy and exhaustion and stress. And I slept a lot. I slept a lot during the day. I slept at night, and it never seemed to be relieved. And, most of that, there were some health issues, but mostly it was my mind that made those health issues way, way worse and worse and worse over the years. And I also was just playing so small. We've talked about this, where I was pretty much in survivor mode, and instead of thriver mode. I was protecting myself. When you hide out and you stay small, you're doing it to stay safe. I was trying to avoid conflict at all costs. I didn't want to have conflict. And so if I put myself out there, there's more conflict. And I didn't know how to face it. I didn't know how to embrace it. I didn't know how to handle life's problems. So I hid. And what happened is, because I was so inactive and I spent all my energy hiding out, I just didn't have any energy to grow. So I was really stuck, and I didn't give up though. I kept showing up, and there's got to be a way, right? And I saw all these doctors and alternative doctors and different diets. And, it was really only until I started the mental training where I was able to control my mind to the point of not pulling me all over the place and trying to protect me from what, really? Because I was hurting myself. So once I strengthened my intellect, my voice of reason, and I started to reflect on higher values every day, and I got into this rhythm. I went to India, studied under my gurus, and the laws, the spiritual education, the laws of life, right? I got exposed, and all of a sudden my energy started to come back. But in this last year, I've seen a major shift within my energy. And that is because I decided to call in and open up to the opportunity to expand. And I called that in every day. I just said, what if and I said this as a mantra. I said, I enjoy the opportunity for expansion. And I just stepped into it because when you want to expand or live a vision of greatness or get to your goals, you have to be open to what that takes. It takes uncomfortable action. It takes a lot of rejection. It takes, let's call it failure, but it's not failure. It's the next step to success, right? And those things used to knock me down on my ASS flat, and now I just open up to embrace it. So instead of those things getting stuck in me and causing my energy to get blocked, what I do is I open my heart. I know this sounds crazy, right? But it's true. I open my heart, I smile, I feel it, and I let it move through me. I just move through it. And so then I realized, whoa, there's a lot of stuck energy from the past that I need to let come to the surface when I'm feeling resistance. So here's a starter. I know there's probably a lot you have to comment on here because I've said a lot, but that's really this idea is that I want to share. If you believe that you are limitless energy, that's step one. To just believe that it's in you, it's just currently blocked. You've blocked it. Your limiting beliefs, we talked about that, right? Your subconscious mind. We get triggered. We go into that survivor mode. So you've blocked it, your little self, and the higher self is just dying to come out. And that's exploding with abundance of energy and this idea of limitless energy. So once you believe that, you can't receive it until you believe it. Then you're on your way to open up to what does this look like?
You can't receive unless you believe. It's really what it is. And for you, Caren, when you said you had that chronic fatigue and felt that things were holding you back, didn't you think that it was something physical? Like something's wrong with me. I gotta go to a doctor. I'm another blood test. What's going on with it? But it wasn't.
I'm so glad you said that because honestly, for me, that was the excuse. And I obsessed for years on getting the answer. See, I had a victim mindset and I didn't even realize it.
Right.
I was like, yes, I had a kidney infection when I was younger. Yes, I had surgery when I was a baby and I was on medication for 3 years. So my immune system was all messed up. Yes, then I had all this ear, nose, throat, asthma, blah, blah, blah. So that did happen, but I didn't take responsibility for the mental part and my own healing through that. And so what I did is I played the victim and said, oh, this has happened to me. It's not my fault. And I need someone to fix it. So I went to the best alternative doctors. I was on a million supplements and, it was this doctor, then this doctor, and I'm going to try this plan and then this plan. I'm so glad I'm off that roller coaster now. Yes, diet does play into it. Exercise, yes, all these things are important, but they're a means to your limited energy. They're not the end in themselves. They're a part of it. And I made my health, I made it the whole. Like this is my biggest problem and why I can't move forward. And until I took, I'm going to use these words, the RR, radical responsibility, and said, I am not going to play victim anymore. I am responsible for my health. My original state, all of our original state is health. How do I get back to that? So what I did is I opened myself up for support, but not to fix me. I had to do that.
Yep. What you're saying, I'll add another R, resonates with me. I totally get what you're saying. And I just had this conversation. It's almost like you're reading my mind.
We have this
it's really
thing.
Weird. That fear holds you back and it's in the back of your mind. But I can say this, and I feel you're probably going to agree. Once you start realizing it and opening yourself up and letting that energy come out and start moving forward, it gets easier.
It does. That's the whole thing.
Right.
But we're so programmed to protect ourselves that the minute we feel resistance, and this is what I was debating, which one do I talk about? And I said, well, they both play into each other. So leaning into resistance, this is what you have to do to get this limitless energy. And I'm doing it every day. And it's incredible. Like the amount of let's say things that happen that don't go according to my plan, what I would want, my model that I think would be great to live in, that no one else lives in. This is what we do. We're confined by this so-called model, right? We want things to happen, the world to function, people to be in line with our thoughts and feelings. And that's impossible. So we have to understand that the world is not meant to cater to our whims and fancies, to our models. So when we let go of that model, which we built for safety, just because we didn't know how to function in the world, when we let go of that model and we just say, I don't need that anymore, I'm just going to be, and I'm going to have an experience. I read something today. I'm sure you've read this book and or at least heard of it. It's called The Untethered Soul.
Heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I finally, I'd heard about it years ago, and it was on my mom's dresser when I was in Florida. And I knew, I was like, I always open up to things that are in line, will show up. And I saw it.
Yes.
And I grabbed it and I said, Mom, you're going to be missing a book when you come to Florida because I just took your book. But it talks a lot about this energy. And I was just ready to really hear this in a different language to help my clients. It's as many languages as I can speak in, you know what I'm saying? Different ways I can put things to help other people kind of understand what is this concept, right? So it really is just allowing yourself to open up to your own fear, open up to that trigger that you're feeling because it happened from something in the past, something in the present happened and ignited that flame. And so we can do one of two things. We can close off or we can open up. And so every day I've been just choosing to stay open, I'm going to remain open, but I also make this choice to be happy. And happy people they experience hardships and joy, tragedies and miracles joyfully. It's just a part of life.
What you just said, I'm going to take one in another direction here. Those people that you're describing, when they've figured it out, like you figured it out, it could be, this is something that trips you up and this is something joyful. And before you figure it out, this thing over here is like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on. But when you figure it out, it's more like this. It's not a big deal. You just, all right, let me hop over that onto this side now. It's all good. I did the same exact thing because 5 years ago, if I was doing my life right now, I would be in that corner right over there, balled up, like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on. How could it be? Now my mantra is nothing surprises me.
Yeah, we are so right. We buy into our drama and our melodrama. Like we really do. And it's like, if we can just step back, this is what I want to help people with and really share.
Sure.
If we can just observe, it's just a slightly different viewpoint. It's you just notice, how you're reacting inside, and you just are aware of that. And is this going to help me or is this going to hurt me? And then once you have that awareness and that little bit of objectivity, that's actually when your intellect, that voice of reason, can say, this is no big deal. Don't sweat any of this. The small or big stuff, it doesn't matter. Because what is it going to do for you if you're bothered and upset? What it's going to do, any disturbance mentally, and I know this very, very well because I went through it, is that it drains you.
It drains you, paralyzes you potentially.
Yeah. Right? And it creates illness.
Yes, it does.
And that's what was happening to me. The more I focused on not feeling good and the more stressed I got, and the more closed off I got, the worse all my symptoms got. Yes.
Exactly. It's almost as if, I call it the CA, the camera angle. So we look at everything through our camera, everything in our life. Try and look at it from another camera angle, like you're watching TV, a movie. Click over to that camera, click over to that camera. How is it being viewed from the outside? Then you realize sometimes that, oh, wait a minute, it really wasn't that bad. But from your camera, oh, this looks really bad because it's coming from this camera in here.
Well, yeah. And if you think about that, that's becoming objective. It's like, wait, I'm perceiving the world completely different. Even you and I, we have different perceptions. of what's happening. So if your viewpoint is different than mine is different from yours, and everyone has a different one, whose viewpoint are we counting on? You know what I'm saying? And the other one is that, okay, what if we took, I love this idea of the 30,000 foot perspective, like 30, if you were way up there, right, looking down, you'd hardly even see anything. Everything would be blurry. So if we realize, right, you know how we have those cameras in space?
Sure.
What do we look like from there, right? And we can't even see what's out there. So we're so teeny, we're so small, this little speck of dust in the universe. If we really expand back, we're just kind of floating around and we have a very short amount of time. We're here for like maybe 100 years if we make it, right? That's not that long if you think about it. So when I start to think about life like that with that 30,000 foot perspective, I'm like, that universal perspective, well, how do I want to spend my time? Do I want to get bothered and disturbed and take everything personally that everyone says? Do I want to take everything to heart? Absolutely not. So, this is why it's so important to think of, what is your highest vision and goal for yourself in your life? And when you align your actions with that, they're perfect actions, meaning it doesn't matter if they look perfect. They could be messy. I'm pretty messy, right? I don't say things perfectly. And, it's not about perfectionism. But what I'm saying is the perfect action it generates energy. It doesn't dissipate energy. So that's a key thing. If you're doing actions on a daily basis that are making you exhausted and tired, you have to think about why you're doing these actions. Because the perfect action generates energy. You'll actually have more energy if it's aligned with what you're envisioning, that higher goal for yourself. So that's one of the steps that you would have to make if you're wanting to tap into this limitless energy, right? One, we have to believe we are that. Because if you break everything down and when we perish, our physical presence, this form, there's energy, right? We talk about the law of conservation of energy all the time. I always like to bring the science in because it's like, hey, I'm not making this up. Energy can't be destroyed or created. So it's like, there's just energy before I was here. It's existing now and it will be here when I go. So if you want to tap into that energy, you have to break free from the confines of your limitations.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
Is it I'm turning the car.
Okay.
We're going to turn for a second. And by the way, when you said flying above, I was thinking that, and I was going to say, I didn't get to it. I was going to say flying above the bleachers because, think about the game. Now you're flying above it. So now you see everything going on, but it's the same analogy. You're just going,
yes.
Instead of going, 300 feet, you're 30,000 feet up. Same analogy. We've talked about before the passing of your husband.
Yes.
And how he was very inspirational and you look to him for a lot. You talk about energy, right? Do you feel his energy?
Absolutely. I opened up to receive that when he died. Because and that's one of the reasons why I honestly don't feel the loss so heavily, because I have opened up to carry that energy with me and give it to, that's what he wanted to do. That's all he wanted to do. He wanted to just change and make this massive impact. He wanted to impact everybody. And one of the most beautiful moments in our relationship was the last outing, 3rd-year wedding anniversary that we made it out to. It was the last time he was even able to make it out. His speech was very impaired, but he had tears in his eyes, and I wrote about it. And he was I didn't know this was coming because he was a very hard on the outside and he was tough. So to get a compliment or a pat on the back is like rare, right? I never expected that. He was just in tears because he watched me shift myself, open up myself, start playing big, start believing in myself. He got to see the impact of him on my life. And for him, that was the greatest gift. And he told me, he said, I'm okay to die. because now you are this badass. He said, you're taking care of me. You're taking care of business. You've reinvented everything. Nothing's stopping you. And I know you're going to be okay. And he said, I fulfilled my purpose because all I really wanted was to see this big of an impact in one person that I got to inspire. And I did. So it was like, I allowed him to let go of that resistance of keep trying to hold on and just be at peace in his final, days, really. And so I didn't even know I was doing that for him. I just knew there wasn't even another way. I wanted him to that was like all he could do is watch me. So I'm like, all right, here I go. Because he got to live vicariously through me toward the end. And it was enough for him. And he did know that he had something to do with it. So yes, I feel that. And he had the kind of energy that I was always envious about. He would be up at 4, and I used to wake up early too, but I was tired. I would take naps, like 2-hour naps in the day. Always wanted to be in bed like 8, 9 o'clock. Even if I wasn't going to bed, just be in bed, tucked away in my little safe place, watching my little show. And it's just the amount now of it's not even just how productive I am. It's just the amount of actions that I'm able to take and make in conversations on a daily basis almost look like for me years ago in 1 week or 1 month of time I can do in 1 day. And it's like, where has this come from? So that belief in yourself gives you tremendous energy. My husband would be gone all day and he would come home with energy, and then he would just pass out at some point just because you can't go anymore. The body just can't go anymore. And then wake up and do it again. And I'm like, where does this come from? And he did have a vision of greatness. He did believe in himself. And I was inspired by that. And now I have those 2 things. And I just don't allow anything to get in my way. I've made that choice. I just said, nope, that's not gonna stop me.
And that's why I asked you, because we talked about energy, and that's an example of energy that you still feel his energy. You carry on his energy. I feel it with my mom. She passed coming up on 3 years now. And I feel her energy. I'll ask for signs from her. Like that, she'll give me very specific. There's no doubt that I almost feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel, and I had a great relationship with her. I have a better relationship even now because of the energy that is there. And that gets us back to the energy within all of us. It's all over everywhere. So use your energy. Don't be afraid don't hide it. You got it. You got this. We all have it. We just need to believe that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's powerful stuff. And I never realized it until the last couple of years what energy does.
Yes. And when you have it, I'm so grateful every day. I honestly say that. I think sometimes we take energy for granted.
Yes.
And not having it for so many years, I definitely don't take it for granted. So it's like, I'm just in awe on a daily basis. And I know that I made a decision that I was worthy. And I believed that I am limitless energy. All I have to do is open up.
Well, you just said you didn't have it. You always had it.
Right, right.
Just refocused it in another direction instead of marinating on, I'm tired, I'm run down, something's wrong with me.
And my dialogue was always about being tired and not feeling good. And so I encourage that.
I did the same thing. I want to share with you. I did the same thing. And I work crazy hours. I've since changed that for decades. I did, for a radio schedule early in the morning, since changed that, but it impacted my life. Like I would take naps, same thing. Like, are we the same people here? I would do same. I did the same thing. And now I feel great because I think I did what you did. I realized it. You had the epiphany that, well, we have energy, use it.
Yes, we have unlimited energy. And it's this idea of, it is there. It was always there. The reason I didn't have it was because I was shutting down to it. I was closing it off. And now that I've decided, wow, I've opened myself up, and I just believe that the only person who can hurt me is me. I can only hurt myself. So instead of trying to hide out and dodge all the dodgeballs in life, just open up. If I get a little hurt, dust myself up and try again.
Totally. But the more you do it, the easier it is, because you have the belief in yourself. Oh, I got this. Oh, I got that. But, rewind, a number of years, you might say to yourself, I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know if I could do that.
And it's really, contagious. It's, me being around my husband. It's like, how does this person do this? And then all of a sudden I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. I have limitless energy in me. And then all of a sudden now people who I'm working with look at me, how I looked at my husband. People comment and I just sit and I take it in, because people say, how do you have this amount of energy? Are you like this all the time? And I was like, well, if you're part of my community, you'll see me showing up on Marco Polo in the Facebook group, going live every single day. Like, it's not a lie. I'm putting myself out there, and I'm just taking actions that generate more energy that I truly believe in, that I'm working for. And I just open up for when there's resistance, when there's disturbance, when something upsets me, I just choose to stay open to it. I feel it, I rest and I relax into it. And I find out what it's really about, and I let go. So when I let go, it moves through me. And then it's like, whoo, that feels great. If I don't, it stops and blocks, right? It gets all blocked up. And then there's the heaviness. And then that's the exhaustion, right?
It's like, and this may be gross, but I'm using the analogy. It's like flushing the toilet when it gets blocked up with, paper and stuff like that. What's that like? Yeah. But then you just flush and then no problem anymore. Just on to the next.
I used that analogy in class when I was teaching yoga class the other day about this, because I was talking about energy and I talked about my clogged sink. This is the same thing. I was like, my sink was backing up. And I tried every time I would put the disposal, it would bubble up,
right?
And so I had to have someone come over and clear the whole thing out, clear out all the pipes.
Oh, so you did a chakra on your sink.
Yes. And now everything's flowing. And it was like, so everyone was laughing in class, but it's the same idea. Exactly. Yes. When things get stuck, nothing can move through and it won't function.
Wow. We're on the same page here, like back and forth. You have come up with a mental training course, just like we're talking now, where it's all about this and how to harness that. You also have the book, The Power of Self-Belief, right?
Yes.
And all available on your website, Caren Paskel, Caren with a C, and Paskel is Paskel, right?
Yes.
.com.
Yep.
We all have it. Limitless energy. Find it. Use it. Don't waste it. And you're right. We're only here for a short time. So why would you want to waste it?
Tap into that limitless energy that you are. Believe and you will receive.
Absolutely. All right. Great talking with you, Caren, and I'll catch up soon. Okay.
You too. Thanks. Take care. See you next week.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.